Hello YouTube. The first evidence of the existence of what scientists call mythical animals dates back to the Upper Paleolithic era. It was at that time that people began to paint them on the walls of caves. Ancient authors wrote about fantastic creatures. They were met in their wanderings by travelers and pilgrims. In the Middle Ages, they were depicted by heraldists. Dragons are by far the most widespread mythical animals of the globe. Land, river, and sea dragons varieties are known. A huge number of species of these wonderful exotic animals have lived and live in almost all geographical and climatic zones, on Earth and underground, in water and in the sky. The dragons of antiquity of China and some Russian varieties have been already described in my other videos, but antiquity was replaced by Middle Ages and then by modern times, and dragons continued to encounter humans almost all over the world. And as such, of course, they excited human minds. For example, the monk Benedict from the monastery of St. Andrew at the turn of the first and second millennia reports that relatively shortly before him, in the year 921, right above Rome, in the sky above, a huge dragon was seen in the form of a beast. He was given the length from the church of Saint Eusebius near a small chapel, almost to the Salt Gate, while many saw him for more than an hour. Then a cloud covered him, and he never appeared again. This dragon puzzled the Romans, and the people in Rome began to worry, struck by sadness about themselves. The North German chronicle writer Adam of Bremen in the 11th century reported about dragons living on the island of Estland in the Baltic Sea. Adam apparently was mistaken when he took the mainland area inhabited by Estonians for an island, but there is no reason to think that he was wrong about the dragons themselves. He wrote, in addition, we were told that there are many other islands in the sad sea, including the large island of Estland, which is not inferior in size to the previous one. Its inhabitants are completely unfamiliar with the God of Christians. They worship winged dragons, to which they even sacrifice living people, buying them from merchants. Yes, they check very carefully, so there is not a single spot on the victim's body. Otherwise, according to them, the dragons would reject her. Galfrid of Monmouth, an English priest who wrote the history of the Britons in the 12th century, mentions many dragons that were found in Britain. In particular, he says that when King Vortigern in the 5th century started building a tower and invited masons for this, he was unsuccessful because everything they had earned in a day was absorbed by the earth the next day. So they could not figure out where the fruits of their labors had gone to. Well, there was the issue with the two dragons and questions of interpretation of surrounding reality, political perspicuity, and a general resentment of the Saxons. Dragons are also known in Eastern Europe. The historian Jan Długosz, who lived in the 15th century, in his work Annals or Chronicles of the Glorious Kingdom of Poland, reports about Polish dragons. Wawel is a rocky mountain washed by the swift current of the Vistula River, and on which is located the wonderful basilica of the most glorious martyr, Blessed Stanislavus, as well as the first and outstanding Polish fortress and capital, Krakow. Up to this day, many caves are also visible on this mountain, in which, according to popular written and oral tradition, a dragon lived, a monster of amazing size, and caused great harm to local residents. The account I have heard goes like this. Dragon Smok Wawelski lived in a cave under the Wawel around the time Krak, the founder of the city, lived in Krakow. Every day the evil dragon went on a hunt for food. On his quest for food, he would destroy farmland, kill citizens, burn down houses, and feast on livestock. Only when the citizens of Krakow brought one young lady every month down to his cave, the damage could be kept under control. The king tried anything to defeat the dragon. He sent his bravest knights to fight the beast, but none of them survived his fiery breath. Then came the day when no young ladies were left in the kingdom anymore. None but Wanda, the daughter of the king himself. The king was so desperate, and so he promised his daughter to anyone who could defeat the dragon. Many young and old men gave it their best effort, but did not succeed. Until one day, young shoemaker Dratevka chanced it. He filled a dead lamp with sulfur and placed it in front of the dragon's cave. The dragon swallowed the lamp, and the sulfur made him very thirsty. Craving water, the dragon came down to the Vistula and started to drink. More and more water he drank, but nothing satisfied his thirst. He drank so much water that finally his stomach burst, and the dragon of Krakow died. Young Dratevka got to marry the daughter of the king, and they lived happily ever after. And you had an example of the early use of chemical weapons. As part of a visit to the Wawel, the dragon cave underneath, it can also be seen, even now. As far as I understand, only in the summer month. The tour starts at the Tower of Thieves in the castle. The stairs lead 81 meters down to the 270 meters long cave. Wear good shoes. The cave has 3 sections. The first one has the lowest ceiling. Up to the 19th century, it was used as a reservoir for the castle. The second section is the biggest one and characterized by magnificent rock formations. In the third section, visitors discovered old chimneys, projections on the walls, and fascinating karst structures. On the lawns of the Vistula underneath the Wawel, the original Wawel dragon sculpture can be viewed. So now you know where to visit and what to look for in Krakow. But of course, there are other Eastern European lands, and the Romanians, the Serbs, the Bulgarians, and other North Balkan people have their own dragons, which had the image of flying snakes and have long been in charge of atmospheric phenomena. The Romanian Balaur can have the body of a snake and the head and tail of a crocodile. Sometimes he is half snake, half human, has the head of a horse, and is covered with scales. He lives in forests, lakes, and swamps, but sometimes he rises into the sky and brings a cloud with rain or hail, and sometimes, hovering over the trees, hits them with his tail, and rain flows from his tail. The origin of Balaur is very peculiar. This is a snake whose tail falls off and paws grow due to some unusual circumstances. This can happen, for example, if a snake has never been seen by a person for 7, 9, or 15 years. If no one sees the newly made dragon for another 7 years, or if, for example, he happens to suck a black cow, he experiences the next stage of dragonification and turns into a snake or serpent. Actually, a snake like Balaur is a reptile that flies in the clouds and affects the weather. But at the same time, a snake, in some not quite understandable way, can resemble a human, possess human speech, have an anthropomorphic wife and children, and experience a special attraction to beautiful women. If the Balaur lives in lakes and swamps, then the snake prefers the sea. The clouds that drink water from the seas can suck up a snake and take it with them. I guess that's what they refer to the cows to as well. Suck it up. But it also happens the other way around. The snake drinks the water itself and disperses it into the air, after which it turns into clouds and rains down on the ground. A species related to balaur that lives in the Carpathian Mountains is called sharkany. This is a winged snake reaching 12 meters in length and having up to 12 heads. Interestingly, the number of sharkany heads depends on age. One grows every year. There is a sharkany, like its Balkan relative, that originates from an ordinary snake, in this case palos, using the Russian term, which no one has seen for 7 years. If a person's gaze falls on an already formed sharkany, it stops growing. It lives in forests and caves, but flying in the sky, it can bring thunderclouds and even cause eclipses by eating the sun. It is not entirely clear what happens to the luminary, our star, in the womb of sharkany and how her digestive system works, since the sun eventually reappears in the sky. In the Carpathians, it is not without reason that the famous eclipse of 1914, which coincided with the beginning of the First World War, was caused by this monster. Despite such a seemingly undoubted power of the sharkany, she is blind and flies through the sky accompanied by a special demon, Vitrenik, who controls her with a bridle. It is possible that each head is equipped with a bridle, but it is possible that one of the heads performs the leading function. In any case, the sharkany controlled by Vitrenik is not responsible for the natural disasters caused by it. It is known that the Vitreniks in the forest glades themselves make hail from seawater, which is delivered to the Carpathians in clouds. They freeze water, split ice into small pieces, and transport them across the sky with the help of the obedient sharkany. However, some researchers warn you that you should not idolize sharkany either. These are quite dangerous animals that eat people and cattle. Over the last century, the Carpathian sharkany have changed. Fire-breathing individuals have appeared among them, which cause not so much hail as drought. As a hypothesis, we can venture to assume that this could have been caused by the crossing of the sharkany with a European fire-breathing dragon. This account is all the more likely because, according to the Russian dragonologist, whose last name is Loginov, European dragons fly to the Carpathians for mating. We will consider some evidence of local residents about the fire-breathing sharkany, given in the article by the modern ethnographer Levkievskaya, titled Cloud Hooks. Where does hail come from in the Carpathians? A snake with 12 heads, a huge, terrible mouth. When she crawls, the grass burns under her. They say that such a snake lives for many years. There is one big head in the middle and two smaller ones on the sides. The heads shine like silver. There are those who have 12 heads. 6 or even 4 can have heads. Every year one head grows. That snake, which has already grown 12 heads, crosses the sea and flies. He or she burns everything. He can burn down the hut. He can burn down a person on the move in a terrible way. They say that they saw such a snake flying. It became dark like in the evening. 2 trees fell. Everything was on fire when she was flying. Such snakes live in great caves. I'm telling you, those Carpathian Mountains, it's a cool place to visit. You will find so much, besides the great food and stories and the cryptids, of which I told you a lot, and the snakes, you will find the music, the nature to be magnificent. But let me continue. Almost all Slavic peoples are known for legends of multi-headed winged snakes. which ordinary snakes turned into after living long enough away from human eyes, or sometimes from the ringing of the bells. In some areas of Poland, even frogs, who had not heard the bell for 7 years, became winged seven-headed snakes. Such dragons were considered more dangerous than those that originated from snakes, because the snake grew legs when it turned into a dragon, and the tail turned into an arrow. As for the frog, which already had legs, all the forces of the body went into the tails, which grew as many as two, and both sharp as arrows. In general, the ways of forming dragons among the Slavic peoples were extremely diverse. In some places, even peaceful carp, who lived up to 40 in Serbia or up to 100 in Bulgaria years, turned into them. Since ancient times, different types of dragons have lived in Russia, which here, as indeed in many other Slavic lands, were traditionally called snakes. Of the small representatives of this group, we can call the aspid or elapids, from the ancient Greek word for sea fish, that were found in the mountains of the north. In the old alphabet books, the elapid is described as follows: winged, has a bird's nose and two trunks, and in which land it is fixed, it will make that land empty, meaning anywhere it visits uninvited, there'll be desert left behind. The aspid or elapid never sits on the ground, but only on a stone or on a rock. It is not easy to, tame him. It is necessary to issue a trumpet's voice from which the mountains shake, then grab the stunned snake with red-hot tongues and hold it until it dies. However, elapids were also known in Western Europe. There, as befits dragons, they exhaled flames to show their evil nature. Unlike the Russian or elapid hunters, the European apparently did not realize that to catch the animal it was necessary to issue a trumpet voice, and to lure it out of the hole they used spells. The malicious elapids skillfully resisted this. Isidore of Seville wrote in the 7th century, when a sorcerer summons an elapid from a cave with a spell and he doesn't want to go, he presses one ear to the ground and covers the other one with his tail, so that he cannot hear the spell. This is infrasound weapons back so many years ago. Anyway, such are the dragons of Eastern Europe. I think that one of the best ways to view what a dragon looked like is to visit someday in the future, when peace comes back to the troubled Eurasia, the dinosaur cemetery. What is it? The dinosaur cemetery is a monument of federal significance located on the southeastern outskirts of Blagoveshchensk. Blagoveshchensk is considered to be one of the centers of dinosaur studies. From the remains extracted from the right bank of the Amur River in 1911, a dinosaur skeleton was mounted for the Museum of the All-Union Geological Institute in St. Petersburg, later known as Leningrad, and again now as St. Petersburg. For the first time, dinosaur remains were found on the Amur River, separating Russia and China, by a colonel of the Russian Imperial Army in 1902. 10 years later, Russian paleontologists successfully conducted new excavations there. But since the mid-1920s, when research had been completely discontinued, it stopped. The search for the reptile remains resumed only in 1999, when Russian and Belgian paleontologists organized an expedition to the vicinity of the village of Kundur in the southeast of the Amur region. The Blagoveshchensk Dinosaur Cemetery is a monument of federal significance. And the burial has long gained fame as unique and is at the top of the rating among paleontologists, not only in Russia, but also around the world. Amur scientists are digging late Cretaceous here, and that is the very boundary of the cut of the Earth's crust, along which the last dinosaurs walked and died out. For decades, an amazing, unparalleled collection of bones of herbivorous dinosaurs have been collected. As a result, the complete skeleton of a reptile that lived in the area of present-day Blagoveshchensk about 65 million years ago has been restored. But I recall Chinese dragons and think there may be some other species in the Blagoveshchensk site. So that you know, Amur, or in Russian Amurskaya Oblast province, far eastern Russia, it occupies the basins of the middle Amur River and its tributary the Zeya, and extends up to the crest of the Stanovoi Range. In 1689, Russia yielded the Amur region to China by the Treaty of Nerchinsk, but the Russian Cossacks reincorporated it in the latter part of the 19th century. As for the beliefs of the indigenous people, listen to this. The dragon was represented in the form of three realities: the earth dragon Mudur, the sky dragon Sumur, and the water dragon Pumur. The earth dragon is the representation of the Nanai, local people, and it had a brown or reddish tinge of scales and lived in the mountains, hills. Traces of its tail leave glades and their slopes. Trees do not grow there. The heavenly dragon was a solar serpent, blinding people with its scales. Interestingly, the Nanai people considered the water dragon to be fake and gave it the appearance of a huge catfish. Its habitat is lakes, river bays, and pools. The Nanai people were afraid of this creature. Hiccup-side hunting boats. Parents warned children against taking long baths in the water bodies. And it was believed that the Pumur would drag a gawking child to the bottom. Literally, Pui translates as boil, Mu is water, and P is a suffix of nouns. It is true that the dragon, being a grandiose, huge figure in Nanai mythology, occupies a central place in art as well. And of course, this is where the Chinese dragons are not too far away from there. So the legends of the dragons persist, and of the mysterious serpents as well. And I'll try to bring you more tales in the future, because there is something to those cryptids that fascinate us, and who knows what encounters there may be in the future. Thank you for your attention. If you can support my research, you'll find the links in the description to this video. Please like my videos and tell others. Thank you.